Last time, my dying mother told me that the man I had mourned my entire life was not my father. That my real father was someone she had lied about for over 20 years. A man everyone in Millbrook believed had died at Normandy. And just as she was about to tell me who he really was, my Aunt Ruth called my name from the hallway in a voice I had never heard her use before. My mother's hand tightened around mine. "She knows," my mother whispered. "Ruth has always known." I want to tell you what happened when I walked out of that room. But first, you need to understand something about my Aunt Ruth, because nothing about what came next made sense to me until I understood exactly who she really was. Ruth was my mother's younger sister, sharp-tongued, unmarried, the kind of woman who ran the church bake sale like a military operation and never once in 31 years had shown me anything other than mild irritation dressed up as affection. I loved her. I had simply never once believed she had anything to do with my life beyond casseroles and Christmas cards. I found her standing in the hallway with her coat still on, as if she hadn't decided whether she was staying or running. Her face had gone the color of old paper. "Ruth," I said, "what is it? What did Mama mean when she said you've always known?" She didn't answer right away. She walked past me into the room and looked at my mother lying in that bed with an expression I couldn't place. Not grief, not exactly. Something closer to relief mixed with dread, the way you look at a wound after you finally decided to let someone see it. "Eleanor," Ruth said, "are you sure you want to do this now? Like this?" My mother's voice came out thin but certain. "I don't have another now, Ruth." Ruth sat down in the chair across from me. She took a long breath, the kind you take before you jump into cold water. "Your father's name," she said, "was Thomas Coyle." The name meant nothing to me. I said so. "He was a friend of your father's, of Frank's," Ruth said, and then corrected herself immediately, wincing. "Of the man you knew as your father. They served together before the war, before you were born." I remember feeling a strange, cold clarity settle over me, the kind that comes right before your whole body starts shaking. I asked the only question I could form. "Is he alive?" Ruth looked at my mother. My mother nodded, barely, as if giving her permission for something she had spent 20 years refusing to allow. "Yes," Ruth said. "As far as I know, he's alive. He lives 2 hours from here, Carol Ann. He always has." What Ruth told me next took almost an hour, and my mother, exhausted, drifted in and out of the conversation, correcting details here and there in a voice growing weaker by the minute. My mother had been engaged to Frank Whitfield since she was 19. Thomas Coyle was Frank's closest friend, the kind of friend who stood up at the wedding, who came over for Sunday dinners, who was, by every account, practically family before he was ever anything more than that. But somewhere in the 2 years before the wedding, something happened between my mother and Thomas that she never told Frank about. Ruth wouldn't give me every detail. She said some things weren't hers to tell. But what she did say was enough. My mother had been pregnant with me before she married Frank. And Frank was not the father. "Frank knew," Ruth said quietly. "That's the part your mother never told anyone. Frank knew from the beginning, and he married her anyway. He raised you as his own because he loved her enough to carry a secret that wasn't even his." I sat with that for a long moment. Everything I thought I understood about my father, a man I remembered as quiet, steady, endlessly patient, suddenly meant something entirely different. He hadn't just been a good father. He had made a choice every single day of his life to love a child that reminded him, in ways I'll never fully know, of another man. "Then why," I asked, "did you tell me he died in a car accident? Why not just tell me the truth after he actually died?" My mother finally spoke again, her voice barely above a whisper. "Because by then, Thomas had already written to me. He wanted to meet you. And I was afraid that if you ever knew he existed, you'd go looking for him, and you'd choose him over the memory of the man who actually raised you." I felt something in me break in a different way then, not from the lie itself, but from what it had cost. My mother hadn't kept this secret out of shame. She had kept it because she was terrified of losing me to a man she had once loved and never stopped, in some complicated way, protecting me from. "Does he know I'm alive?" I asked. "Does Thomas know he has a daughter?" Ruth and my mother exchanged a look I didn't understand yet.
"He knows," Ruth said slowly. "He's known for years. Carol Ann, he's written to you, not just to your mother, to you." I remember asking Ruth to repeat that sentence because I was certain I had misheard her. "He's written to you," she said again, "for almost 15 years. Your mother kept every one of them. She never let you see them, but she never threw them away either." I looked at my mother, lying there in that bed, her chest rising and falling with visible effort now, and I felt something I hadn't expected to feel in that moment. Not anger, though the anger would come later in waves I wasn't prepared for. What I felt first was grief. A whole second grief layered on top of the first. Grief for 15 years of letters I never got to read. Grief for a man who had apparently spent over a decade trying to reach a daughter he wasn't allowed to know. "Where are they?" I asked. "The letters. Where are they now?" My mother's hand moved slowly toward the nightstand drawer beside her bed, the one I had walked past every single day for 6 weeks without ever once thinking to open. "Ruth," my mother said, her voice barely a breath now, "give her the key." Ruth reached into her coat pocket and pulled out a small brass key I had never seen in my life. Her hand was shaking as she held it out to me. "Carol Ann," she said, "before you open that drawer, there's one more thing you need to know. And your mother asked me to be the one to tell you, because she wasn't sure she'd have the strength to say it herself." I stood there with the key in my palm, my mother's breathing growing shallower behind me. And I understood, somehow, that whatever Ruth was about to tell me was the reason my mother had waited until her very last days to say any of this at all. "Thomas didn't just write letters," Ruth said. 3 years ago, he came here, to Millbrook. He stood outside this house for almost an hour. My blood went cold. Why didn't anyone tell me? Ruth's eyes filled with tears for the first time since I'd walked into that hallway. "Because he wasn't alone," she said. "He brought someone with him. Someone your mother made him promise never to introduce to you. Not until she was gone."